Good morning, my name is Remy Sharp and I am calling you from Brighton, the city of wind. We haven't had as much rain as the rest of the country, but there is a tree in our road that is currently at a tilt. It's quite a big tree, and looks like if it keeps blowing the wind the way it does, it's going to be in the middle of the road. Thankfully, it's not going to hit any houses. Anyway, I'm writing for MDN at the moment. Some articles about build tools, have been for a while. I'm a bit of a slow writer when I've got a spec, and I'm on to the section of the articles where I write about build chains and or tool chaining, yeah. And I figured since I got to write this stuff, and I've written half of it already, I might as well try and articulate some of it, because I'm trying to find my words really. So the thing about tool chains is, just like any other chain, the longer it is, the more brittle it will be. There are more points of potential failure. So I guess that's kind of why I've always gravitated towards having a very, very small build chain, build chain? Messing up words now. And I've always kind of headed that way, and I've always wanted to try and reduce the amount of tools I had involved in that I use to actually deploy or get my code to work. I've never been a big fan of transpiling, transforming, whatever. And I've never been a fan of configuration. The more config there is, the more kind of like tweaking and building and all that shit takes you away from actually deploying the thing. So short tool chains are good. The shorter, the better. If you can get rid of the whole build chain and you're able to deploy without it, then you have a brilliant process. And resilient, I guess. Not brilliant, resilient. And I guess that kind of, like, if you look at it, if you think, right, well, how could you have no build chain at all? Well, you would just write HTML. You wouldn't have any, you might have CSS and perhaps JavaScript in there. Thank you very much, Car. But you would just upload your HTML page, drag and drop it into maybe Netlify, which doesn't do any building, or at least you can't see it, and it makes it resilient, right? It can't break. There's no piece for it to fail. But if you have this long build chain where you've got kind of a Webpack and Babel plugins, and all the trees are up in the park, which is pretty good. I'm pretty pleased about that. Oh no, there is a tree that's literally been torn in half. I spoke too soon. I'm like the purveyor of doom for trees. Yeah, literally like in half. I've distracted myself with trees. And yeah, if you have all of these pieces, then it's brittle, right? It's not resilient. And I guess so. What you want to try, what I want to try and convey in this article is that less tools is better, and better is articulated directly in terms of resilience. I guess resilience is kind of the magic word here, right? So that takes me to, like, how do you make your There's always a manual process in a tool chain. Oh, please don't stop in front of me. There's always a manual process in a build chain. The first manual process is actually writing the code, right? You have to write the code. Otherwise, you've got a build chain that does nothing. Or a tool chain. Tool chain? Fuck. Someone drop me a comment and tell me which one it is. Brain's gone dumb, blank. And for me, another manual task is a commit. So I use Git as kind of the stream, the pipeline, the thing that like drags my code from my machine into production. There are loads of really cute purple daffodils in wavy lines along where I live, which is very nice given the awful weather. So yeah, there's always a manual process, and I guess, you know, we're fallible. So I guess the kind of more manual process there is, the less resilient it is. And there are going to be some prerequisite processes. Ooh, big hole in the floor. Like the commit, like writing the code. And I'll use the commit to kind of trigger the next part in the chain. So, you know, maybe one part of the chain is kind of disconnected part is actually the build process. Like I do a commit, and it runs a new build, maybe, and the push will trigger the deploy. You know, these are all things we think about, or we don't particularly think about, because I think I've been thinking about how to break it down and explain it to people. I've been trying to think about how can we reduce the build process. Yeah, there is a tree right in front of us that looks like it's down. Anyway. Oh god. Oh my gosh, that's some bad parking. Yeah, so I was just thinking about that build process. That's my car going to bump into the wall. And small build chains. So I guess that's kind of one of the key things I want to get across in the article that I'm writing. Smaller build chains, better for resilience. Thank you.